Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're discussing what our favorite thing about gaming is, and we're talking about Street Fighter because I want to.
All right, Daniel, there's a lot of gamers out there, us included, but why do we game? That's the question.
The philosophical question. Many a man more intelligent than us have lost themselves in the rabbit hole of possibilities, Randy.
Well, I thought that maybe we could finally answer the question today. So we put out a poll asking, what is your favorite thing about gaming? And gave a couple options, and here's what people had to say.
Actually, we gave 4 options, so we gave 2 couples of options. And at 17%, people like the challenge. At 5%, people like the social aspect. At 65%, people like the escapism. And at 13%, people said the creativity.
So, Daniel, what are you? If you had to vote in this poll, what would you have voted for?
I, like most people, consider myself to be a little bit of all of this. But if I really have to look deep within, the games that hook me generally, that stick around for years, are the games that give me a challenge, or at least the games that I can improve at, if that makes sense. Like the more skill-based, you start out crappy and you end up good kind of games, you know. That doesn't necessarily mean I want every game to be Souls hard, but I do like a challenge.
Right. Well, this may be the basic answer because it was the bulk of the people who said this, but for me, it's all about the escapism. I mean, sure, sometimes there's definitely some things that are challenging that I enjoy. And definitely creativity. I enjoy the art aspect of games a lot. The thing, and the social aspect as well. I mean, I do enjoy parts of that, but I'd say that's definitely my least favorite thing about gaming. Not that I don't enjoy it, but it's if I had to rank them.
I mean, I agree that when I'm playing games, I'm not always thinking about I can be social while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
We do that when we stream, of course.
Right. Check us out on Twitch.
Twitch.tv/gaminggig. But we talk about games all the time.
Yeah.
So it almost to me, the social aspect extends past the actual playing, and it's just
right. Yeah. I guess that's it. We have a shared hobby.
Yeah. And I mean, what else are we going to talk to each other about?
We're not going to talk about music. That's for sure.
No.
We did that for too many years. And
yeah. I got tired of that.
Yeah. We're over that.
Now we talk about games on the way to play music, where we still think about games while we're playing music.
Right. But, obviously a lot of people said escapism, and that's probably the thing that, a lot of people go to gaming for, is to get away from the real world. And
I totally get that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to get away from.
But we have a lot of comments on this poll, and we're going to talk about some of them. And, I kind of picked some out that I thought had some interesting things to say. First one I picked out was Celeria Rose, who said, a mix of escapism and creativity. I like just getting to see these weird and unique concepts and ideas and get lost in them for a bit. And as was also mentioned, a nice story is a key aspect for me as well. Not absolutely necessary, but a quick way to get my interest.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But in this poll, there wasn't really anything mentioned about storytelling. I guess escapism kind of encapsulates that.
It's in there.
But if I had thought about it more from that perspective, a bigger chunk of me would have probably said escapism as well.
Right, because that's definitely, a story is part of the escapism, isn't it?
Yeah, I love a good story.
But also just being in these worlds, some worlds are just so cool, you just want to live in them, I think about games like Red Dead Redemption 2, playing Tears of the Kingdom right now, so that one's a big one, a game I just want to live in. But there are
GTA.
There are lots of games that just you just want to be in that world because it's just a cool world to be in.
That's true.
Games are weird because it seems if we go all the way back with games, sure, stories were a part of some games, but some games had no story at all. And it seems like now games kind of have to have at least some story, but it's not mandatory.
No, I mean, Mario's been rehashing the exact same story forever.
Right. It's not about the story.
And it's okay.
And there are certainly still games, that don't have a story. Not many. It feels like most games try to have some sort of thing to hook you. But yeah, it is interesting because as gamers, we sometimes get great stories and sometimes we don't, but they can be good games either way.
That's true. All right. We got a comment from Just a Watcher. Just a Watcher, who's now Just a Watcher and commenter, said, both challenge and creativity. That's part of the reason I love Cuphead and Getting Over It. I also love Cuphead.
Yeah.
Haven't played Getting Over It, but Cuphead slaps.
I Getting Over It, I don't remember like what game that is.
I don't either.
I feel like I have seen, I've never played it, but I feel like I've seen stuff. I'm blanking on it. But Cuphead, way too hard for me personally.
Yeah, you had to give up on that one.
Getting Over It. Let's see. What is this one? What does it look like? Oh, this is the one with the dude who's in the thing and he's like, has the pickaxe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've definitely seen.
He's in like a pot.
Yeah. That game is, it's kind of like wonky physics. You got to like really, apparently it's quite difficult.
Oh, and you got to get over it. You got to get over the obstacles.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it.
Actually, yeah, definitely have seen plenty of videos from that game. But yeah, Cuphead, too hard for me. I think that there's a point when a game becomes too challenging and I don't enjoy it anymore. Cuphead was one of those games. I loved the art style.
Yes.
And thought that was really cool. And I think the concept of the game is really neat, but it's too difficult for me to like want to sit back and like relax. Like it
wasn't
there's no
relaxing.
relaxing thing about it.
No, Cuphead's not relaxing, but it was like, I just wasn't taking no for an answer.
Right.
I decided I was going to beat Cuphead.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't let myself give up. I think I only played it for like maybe 3 or 4 days. I don't think it took very long because it's not a very long game. It's just a hard game.
Very hard. Too difficult for me. But at the same time, that's why I think like the challenge is probably my one of my lower things, and along with the social aspect. But challenge is not something I really look for in a game, even though sometimes if a game is challenging, I can enjoy it. Like playing Tears of the Kingdom right now, and there are some things about Tears of the Kingdom where I think like it can be a genuinely challenging game.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I don't mind like dying over and over and over in a section because it has so many other redeeming qualities that like that's just like part of the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah. I had the same experience. Like even as I was like getting close to the final boss, I would still occasionally get like one shot by enemies, and I hadn't spent like hours and hours and hours upgrading my armor. I had upgraded my armor once. And I don't remember how many hearts, but a fair amount.
Enough to feel like you shouldn't get one hit.
Yeah. Enough to feel like I shouldn't get one hit.
Yeah.
And that never really stopped.
No.
Like, and it, I had to do the final boss fight a number of times.
Yeah.
I mean, I died a lot.
So, I mean, like, that's one of the reasons that like Cuphead didn't appeal to me as much, because I didn't feel like there was enough to sink my teeth in besides just the pure challenge of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's
all it was.
I love the art style, but that just wasn't enough to keep me. All right. So next we have, I have no idea how to pronounce this. I'm not even going to try it. I have no idea. Says the creativity for me. I don't care for the challenge mostly. I play only single player games, and I don't play games to escape from real life. I play them for the art itself, such as the unique game mechanics and world building. There is something to be said about games as art, and they can be really, really cool just as pieces of art themselves.
We were talking about Journey yesterday, and I'd never heard of it, but Randy and Frankie had played it, and I think I'm going to try that one.
Yeah, I recently played that one and loved it. I mean, it's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, so it's short, and it's meant to be played multiple times. Like a lot of people play it many times, but even if you just play it once, the art itself is what is so cool about it. And it does have a story, but the story is very abstract and it's told in a non-verbal way. It's all environmental storytelling. So it's not really about the story. It's more just about the experience of this kind of like, it's an artistic experience, and it's really unique for a game. And it's cool that games can do that. But I haven't played many games like that. They're like art games.
No, I haven't either. I've seen some.
I played a couple that felt like they were art games, but none to the extent of Journey. And I'm really excited about playing other games from that game developer, which I think is actually what they're called, or like that game company, or I can't remember what the developer's called. It's called like that game company or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember at the moment. But yeah.
But before we move on, we have to plug the tweets.
The Twitter.
The Twitters.
Yep, we've got a Twitter. And we want you guys, if you are on Twitter, why not follow us and hang out with us? We post on there just like random tweeting thoughts, but also just
Those are called tweets.
Yeah, they are called tweets.
Yeah.
But also trying to like post like gaming news, and also when we make videos or when we put out a podcast, it's a good way to keep up with us. Just if you're on Twitter, why not check us out?
I mean, what have you got to lose?
Right. I mean, Twitter's already a dumpster fire, so you might as well just make it.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, for gaming, it's not too bad.
All right. Well, we got a comment from Miss Foe, a.k.a. Heather Cook, who said, for a long time, before I found a way and the courage to be myself IRL, video game escapism was insanely important to me. Getting to be a version of myself who could be who she really was in a game was my number one pleasure and priority in life. That's why Bethesda games will always be my favorite. They allow you to build another life for yourself better than anyone else. Now that I'm my true self all the time, though, and my fiance lives in a different country, I really value the social aspect too. It lets us do stuff together even when we're 1,000 miles apart.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So, I mean, like, two big, like maybe as your life changes, you find a different kind of aspect of gaming that appeals to you.
Mm-hmm. And, we have another friend on Discord, got another couple friends on Discord who date each other, and they're also in different countries, and
they use gaming.
Yeah. So,
I mean, even me and my wife, we play games together every night, and I don't really think of it as a social thing, but, I guess it is. I mean, it
definitely is.
Because it's a way that me and my wife bond, and every night we play games together, and it's something that we both really look forward to.
Yeah.
And we love spending that time together, and it's like a set time every day that we do that.
Well, it's like instead of like sitting down and watching The Voice.
Right. Yeah.
Which
why would anyone want to do that?
Why do you do that, American people? Well, I guess it's worldwide people. I don't know. Hell, I don't know. Do people from other countries want to? Do they care what Blake Shelton thinks?
I bet they don't. Just to guess.
I don't even care, and I'm from here. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I think that's a good thing y'all do.
Yeah, but then
it's very wholesome.
Yeah, we love it, and it's just so much fun. But also you're talking about Bethesda games and how they allow you to build another life for yourself. That's interesting. I mean, I guess Bethesda games are something that comes to mind, but I haven't played that many, so like it's not. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with Heather. Okay. Because I was huge on Bethesda games back in the day.
I remember they were your absolute favorite.
They were my absolute favorite, and I still hold them very near and dear. Mm-hmm. And I completely see where she's coming from. I mean, those games. They were the first big open RPG style game I ever played. Mm-hmm. I mean, there may have been things that happened
and you
before
build your own characters in those games.
You build your own character. And I was like at the age where my imagination was still like super strong, So I was like immersed in it. That's what those games were for me, was super immersive. More so than any other games I've ever played.
I'm trying to think if I've played any games where I felt like I was really getting to like, have a second life in the games. And, I don't know that I have as much. Like, I haven't felt like that deep of a connection in a way to a game where I felt like I was like getting to live this second life in the game.
I don't know that I would have put it in those words either. I didn't think of it that way, but I could see how somebody would. I mean,
there have definitely been like games that I've played where it felt kind of like in that vein, because like, say like Sea of Thieves, for example.
Yeah.
Like that would probably be the closest I can think of where I had, people that I knew just from the game and social interactions that were just through that game. Like, so I would say that would be the game that's probably closest in my mind for me. But I just don't know.
I think Sea of Thieves is a good example. Mm-hmm. And also like things like WoW, like which we didn't play.
No, we didn't. No.
But I mean, WoW has like, there are like legends of people who played WoW, like real people who just devoted insane amounts of time to WoW. Like that guy who, can't remember his name, but he like played this character and he like camped this bridge religiously for like months and months. And he would kill like everybody who came to this bridge. And it was like on this server, you had to go to that bridge to get on this ship that was like really important. And people
he wouldn't let anybody pass.
No, he wouldn't let people pass. And
that's great.
He would like turn invisible and then like come up on them and just like one hit the noobs.
Oh my gosh.
And there's like a documentary on YouTube about this guy. I mean, he became like legend.
Like back when WoW was so huge, and I know it's still big. I know people like still play it, but back in its heyday, back when it was huge, that was not a game that I was even remotely interested in playing.
No, me neither.
And like, I feel like now, if it was huge right now, I would probably get into it and maybe enjoy it. But back then, I was a teenager, back during that time, and I did play video games, but not as much as I do now.
No.
And the type of games
You were a late bloomer.
The type of games I enjoyed at that point were not the type of games I like now.
Right. You took a little bit of some time off from hardcore gaming.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely still played, but it was, during that time, our family had an Xbox 360, and I didn't get to play it much because my brother kept it in his room.
Yeah.
And it very rarely got out. And then
it tried to escape.
So the gaming system that was in the living room at that time was the Wii. And I mean, I know, the Wii may have come a little bit late on the tail end of when WoW was huge, but I think about like playing the Wii, and on the Wii, I was playing just the same old stuff that everyone else was playing.
Right.
But I didn't really even play that much. And if I did, it was maybe like some old virtual console games, because I was like playing games that I liked when I was a little kid. So it's kind of like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't play that many, or it was just a bunch of Wii Sports.
No shame in that.
Or this one CSI game for Wii. Man, I played a lot of that game.
Maybe a little more shame in that.
Yeah, a lot of shame. Well, I went back and replayed it a few years ago.
I remember.
Yeah, that was something else.
All right, hit us with Raichi.
Raichi says, "I love finish a challenge." I don't think finish was supposed to be there. Maybe it was I love finishing a challenge. I think there was a typo there.
Don't put words in it.
Then be rewarded with deep lore. I chose escapism because since I was a kid, I play games like Bionicle Online and discovered a deep lore on a point-and-click adventure. Yeah, lore is cool.
It is cool.
That is. I don't really think about lore a whole lot, but I do like it when games have some obscure lore that you have to figure out on your own.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it can't be the only thing. Like, there has to be other things about the game that hook me, and then once I get hooked, if I discover some cool lore, I like it.
Yeah.
Like Elden Ring didn't hook me, but it has like
tons
no
of cool
shortage of lore. It's
right. So the game has to hook you first.
Yeah. Game has to hook me first.
I'm probably that way too. I do like it when games have some cool, obscure lore. Like, I think it was in Breath of the Wild. I mean, I know it was Breath of the Wild, but I think that there was like a section of Breath of the Wild that was just like ruins. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Zonai ruins. And it was like, but I could be wrong about that. But in my mind, when I started playing Tears of the Kingdom and all the Zonai stuff, I was like, wait, wasn't there like ruins of an old ancient culture that there was like nothing in the game except the ruins, and that's like all it was? I remember thinking like, that's so cool that they included this and didn't like have any sort of like real like story moments that brought up that.
Yeah.
And then now there's a game that like focuses so much on Zonai.
It was near the desert, right? I don't know if it was Zonai.
No, I don't know. We need to look that up.
We do need to look that up.
Because I feel like there was, but I just don't know. Like, but anyways, yeah, I feel like, because you asked me about it one day, you were like, was there Zonai stuff in Breath of the Wild? And I was like, yeah, I think that was where those like crazy ruins were, and it had like nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But who knows?
All right, we got a comment from Aneo Smith.
Aneo Smith.
Aneo says, obviously escapism. For an example, whenever playing Cyberpunk 2077, I feel connected to the story. It helps me escape from the reality.
Cyberpunk is I actually almost brought that game up earlier because I was thinking like, what would be a modern game where you create your own character and you live like a
definitely Cyberpunk.
Yeah, you live like this crazy life that you could never live in the real world. Mm-hmm. Cyberpunk is definitely one of those.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I really enjoyed Cyberpunk. I know that it didn't have a ton of fans at release, and it had some issues, but I think that it's kind of come a long way, and it was a cool game.
Yeah, I need to. one day I'll come back to it, but it did seem really cool. Yeah,
very, very cool game. I think that there is a DLC coming soon, so that might be a good reason to go back to it for me. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. So, I had the same comment in here twice. Yeah. Let me go. Next, we got Ouija3343. Ouija. His brother Lou also comments sometimes. You got Lou and Ouija.
Bucket of fish.
Okay. Very hot take. Ooh, a very hot take. I like it when video games are fun. This is not a very hot take. I was never good at anything, so of course I chose the easy difficulty. I think as long as you're having fun, it's a good game.
That was ice cold, bro.
Yeah, I think that was a joke.
Yeah.
And they were saying like, look, games just need to be fun. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's true.
But they're fun because of like different amounts of these things. You know, like sometimes it's gameplay, sometimes it's escapism, sometimes it's challenge.
Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what makes a game fun.
That is true.
It really can be hard to. I was thinking about that actually this morning. I started playing Jedi Survivor, and I was just playing it, and I was just thinking, this game's fun. And I thought, like, what about it? What about it is fun? And I couldn't exactly pinpoint what was making it fun. And I was like, is it the environments? Yeah, the environments are really cool, but is it like the combat? Yeah, the combat's really fun. Then it's got like these climbing segments that are also really fun and wall running. I'm like, I think like everything about it kind of adds together to make it a really fun game.
I haven't played that, but I played, the first one, and I know I would love the second one, and I will play it. And I'll tell you, all it takes for that game to be fun for me is to just let me be a Jedi.
That's exactly what it does.
That's all it takes. Because, young Daniel would have killed for a game like that.
Right. Yeah. Think about that's great. I think about like all the kids that are getting to play these Jedi, like Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, and they get to live the life of a Jedi, and it's like, man, that is so cool.
Man, the best I could do was like get my ass kicked in Super Star Wars for the SNES
When you were a little kid,
and not even make it to the part when Luke got his lightsaber. All I wanted was to get rid of this stupid gun. You know, and how uncivilized.
Did you play any of the Star Wars games on GameCube? Because I know there were a lot of them.
I played Battlefront 2 and 1. And those were so good. Oh my gosh. When like kids today will come to me at school and be like, have you ever played Battlefront 2? And I'll be like, yes, but not the one you think.
Not the new one.
Yeah. But I don't know what else. No, I don't think I played anything else. I mean, what else was there?
There was KOTOR. Wasn't that on GameCube, or was that later?
I never played KOTOR, but if it ever does get remade, I might.
Was it GameCube? In my mind, it's on GameCube, but am I wrong about that?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I remember I've heard so much about it, and I feel like it was. I could be wrong though about what it's on, but in my mind, it's GameCube. But
original Xbox.
Is it
Xbox 360, Windows?
So it was on Xbox.
It's Xbox,
not GameCube. So it was during the era, but it wasn't on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe that makes more sense as to why you wouldn't have played it. You didn't have an OG Xbox, did you?
No, I didn't. Devil and Roland was the only one I knew that had one.
I had one.
No. I don't remember you having one. Yeah. You had an OG Xbox?
Yeah.
That wasn't my thing, I guess.
I mean, when I say I had one, our family had one, and again,
is that when Steven?
That's one of the ones. See, Steven kept it in his room.
Sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. And we wouldn't want to hang out with your younger brother.
No, because he was playing, like Halo 1 and 2, and like, and then I tried to get it back from him, So he never plays it, and he still has it. And I was like, man, I want to get that Xbox from you because I just want to have it for the collection. He's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then he brought me the games. I have the games that we had for it, but I don't have the system. He said he couldn't find it. So it's probably in storage somewhere.
What a loser.
I know.
Speaking of non-losers, we got a comment from Landon Stalling.
What a great transition, Daniel. I'm sure Landon really appreciates that.
I mean, he's a non-loser. If anybody in this world is a non-loser, it's Landon. So anyway, Landon says very succinctly, life sucks, then you die. Thank God for gaming.
Well, that was a great comment to kind of wrap up our discussion on, why do people game? Life sucks, then you die. Thank God for gaming. It really is great to have games as something to do.
Thank you, Reggie.
But we're not done with the podcast because we're going to be talking about Street Fighter 6. But before we transition over to letting Daniel rant about Street Fighter 6 for a little bit.
Do it for the gram.
We want to talk about our Instagram. If you're on Instagram, go follow us on Instagram. We post our short form content on Instagram. So things like game reviews, little news stuff, gaming discussions. Any short form content goes on there, as well as TikTok and YouTube Shorts. But if you like Instagram, go check it out.
Alrighty.
All right, let's talk about Street Fighter 6. Daniel, this is the game that you've been obsessed with.
Yeah, so this game just came out a couple days ago, and I have, I think I have about 15 hours in it already.
It's only been out for 2 days at the time of this recording.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, it has. It's been out 2 days.
No, it's Sunday. It came out Friday.
So I guess I was thinking like Saturday, Sunday. It's been 2 days since it came out.
Yeah, but it came out at midnight Friday, and I played it at 1 a.m. Friday. So
I know it feels like it's been more than 2 days, but Daniel, it's only been 2 days.
no, man, I had Friday, Saturday, and today.
Okay, we're working on our third day.
Yeah, and I've played it today. So anyway, yeah, we have a poll about it, so we'll get to the poll, but I'm obsessed with this game, and it's so good, and it's exactly as good as I was hoping it would be, and I just can't believe it because things rarely are. But anyway, we asked the people, what's your favorite new feature in Street Fighter 6? Hit us with the results, Randall.
So at 45%, we got people saying the new art style and character redesigns. At 14%, we have World Tour, which is the single player mode. And at 6%, the simplified control options. And then 36% of people just wanted to see what the poll results were. So, yeah, so a big amount of people looking at the new art style and character redesigns. I know that's kind of a big thing because it looks quite different from Street Fighter V.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of really like OG mainstay Street Fighter characters that date back to like Street Fighter 2 look very different in this game. And I can't think of any that I think look worse. They all look good.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like you were talking about how different Ken looks.
Ken looks
but still looks like Ken. I mean, you can still tell it's Ken, but definitely different. I was looking earlier when you were playing.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's the you were telling me about old Cammy. The redesign on Cammy has caused an uproar on the internet.
Yeah, the Street Fighter subreddit is a little obsessed with Cammy. I'll let you discover that on your own. But yeah, nobody dislikes the redesign. But I think they were just as excited to find that the old design is also included. Well, and that's all I'll say about that. But then we also got Bearded Ryu.
Bearded Ryu.
Yeah, and like I have, his old design as well. Like you can select that costume, and it's hard to go back to beardless Ryu. He looks bad.
People just look way cooler with beards.
That's a fact. But I'll tell you what, Ryu has some eyebrows on him. That's one of the first thing I noticed is he needs to get an eyebrow.
He needs to work them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on World? You haven't played World Tour, have you?
No, of course not. You know me. I don't do that sort of thing.
If it's not competitive, Daniel's like, I don't want to just play a single player mode and fight against NPCs.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, I have played arcade mode several times.
Okay.
But that's where you get like the actual story of Street Fighter 6 is in the arcade mode. Mm-hmm. So the World Tour mode is where you like create your own character and go out and like learn moves from all these different characters, and you can create like a hodgepodge moveset, which is really cool. And I'm glad that people are enjoying it.
You're not going to do it. This is like the single player mode that was in Smash Ultimate. I don't think you've touched it once.
Never.
And that game's been out for, 5 years now?
You're never going to see me play World of Light. No, it's not going to happen.
I played all of World of Light all the way through, and it's quite long.
Yeah. That's what she said.
I like that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that interests me. Like World Tour seems like something that I would really want to jump into.
I know, and I haven't asked you this. I was waiting for the podcast, but are you going to GameFly Street Fighter 6 and check it out?
I might, yeah. I don't have room right now because I only do 2 games at a time, and I have Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I have Cat Quest 2, which is Catherine and I are playing that. Mm-hmm. So I have 2 games out right now, so I don't have room for it, but I might get it soon. But the thing is, we have Final Fantasy 16 coming up soon, and I gotta get a game back so I can get that one because I'm not 100% sold on that one yet, so I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna definitely GameFly it.
Yeah,
just in case I don't like it.
Well, I was hoping you would end up GameFlying Street Fighter 6 eventually, because I really want to get your take on it, especially with these simplified controls. So I was surprised more people didn't vote for this. To be honest with you,
super low. Only 6% of people.
Yeah, but there's 3 control methods. Mm-hmm. There's the classic, where you've got to do all the normal inputs you're used to. There's modern, and then there's another one. I think it's called like dynamic or something like that. Mm-hmm.
And the dynamic's like easy mode.
Mm-hmm. And the modern is like an intermediate step where you can do all the special moves without having to do quite as complicated of an input. But there's a trade-off there because you don't get quite as much control. So I'm playing on classic mode because I'm used to it by now because I've been going through fighting game boot camp in preparation for this. But I see a lot of people online using those modern controls.
It could probably work fairly well.
And I'm telling you what, it will piss you off when you lose to somebody using them.
Well, let's talk more about that in a second because we have a comment that's going to address that. But first, let's talk about Caleb here left us a comment saying, what about the new gameplay mechanics and character moves? Those are the elements that players will be interacting with the most. Mm-hmm. So talk about there are some new mechanics, right? There is a new mechanic that is new in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 6 is based off of a drive system mechanic. So you have, obviously you got your health bar, and then below that you have your drive bar. And that drive bar is very, very important because it enables you to do certain moves that you can't do without it, such as a drive impact, which is like this big armored move. It can take 2 hits before it gets broken, and it stuns your opponent. It's very important, and it looks freaking awesome. It was all over any like trailers you ever saw for Street Fighter 6. It's where all the where all the colors like go crazy on the screen and all that. But it's not just that move. There's more to it, and managing that is so important. Whereas in previous Street Fighter games, well, Street Fighter 5 anyway, it was called a V-trigger system, and the V-trigger enabled you to, modify certain moves and things like that, but it wasn't as important as the drive system. So if you use all your drive bar, you burn out, and then it just like slowly comes back, and you are like at serious disadvantage during that time. Your frame data is worse and everything. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's just you're in a really bad shape. So it's really important to manage that.
Mm-hmm. And certain things you do will drain your opponent's drive bar and build yours, or vice versa. Blocking actually drains your drive bar, which I love. I love it when I see a fighting game encouraging offense.
Right. Not just being like, I do feel like I've played some fighting games where if you're just sitting where you're sitting, you're just like constantly blocking or shielding, and it's like, oh, so annoying.
Yeah. Smash is bad.
Yeah. Smash is definitely bad about that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's balanced? Do you feel like this new mechanic has changed things, made it so that maybe newbies have a better shot? Or do you think that it's something that everyone's just going to have to learn? And like, what do you think?
So far, I think it's balanced. I mean, there are characters that I have a tougher time fighting than others, but I think that's a me thing. I don't think that's a game thing yet. I mean, I haven't had it long enough to think like, oh, this is busted.
Like, this character is OP.
Yeah, drive impact is definitely not busted because every character can do it. And if you're about to be drive impacted, you can use your drive impact, and whoever did it second always wins.
Oh, so it's better to react to it than it is to throw it out.
Well, I mean, you want to throw it out because sometimes they're not going to react, Right. But if you see them throwing it out... Is
there like a window that you have to do it within? Okay.
Yeah. Basically, for their whole animation, you can do it.
Gotcha.
But just, like, if you're pressing buttons, you can't do that.
Gotcha.
If they catch you, you get caught. If you're in the middle of a combo string and they get a drive impact off, if you don't hit them 3 times, they're going to hit you. And most move strings are not fast enough to do that.
Interesting.
There are times when I like get somebody in the corner and I think they're going to like get up with the drive impact, and I just spam light punch because that'll hit them 3 times and it'll break it.
Interesting. So moving on to talking about the simplified controls, Caleb said, also wanted to bring up the addition of simplified controls in case it's discussed on the podcast. Here we are.
Yep.
Simplified controls give you a more limited move set, but it's still strong. You won't be doing the craziest combos, and you don't have access to different versions of special moves, different projectile speeds, for example, but it lets people play without having to sit down and learn a bunch of stuff for a game they might want to play casually.
Yes.
See, and that's appealing to me.
That's why I want you to try it so bad. I want to see what somebody like you would actually think. But he's right. It really doesn't make you bad at all. But it does give you less nuance.
So it depends on but I imagine that there is a sect of people, and you may or may not count yourself amongst these people, but there is a sect of people who feel like the game maybe shouldn't be let in so that casuals can have more of a fighting chance. They want it to be so that in order to be good at the game, you really have to learn the game, and that's the only way to get good at it. Do you feel like it's kind of cheap to let there be a simplified move set that people can come in and be competitive with, even if they haven't sunk so much time into learning all these nuanced, combos and controls and all that stuff?
No, I don't feel that way. Because if you're using classic mode, your skill ceiling is way higher. Like, you can get way better than somebody who's not.
Oh, okay.
Because you have access to these combos and these varying projectile speeds. That's a great example. that other people don't. I mean, I think it is objectively better, but it's also objectively harder. So it just depends. If you want to put in that time, then I go classic and get really good. I'm trying.
Well, one of the things I think would be good about this particular setup they have is that you can get into the game with simplified controls and, not just get your butt whooped every time you play. Mm-hmm. And that might encourage you to actually maybe one day want to learn the classic controls. You might get to a point where you're like, okay, look, I'm enjoying this game so much, but the only way I'm going to be able to take it to the next level is if I sink the time into learning the classic controls. Yeah. And that's a choice you can make if you enjoy the game that much.
Right. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, anything that gets people into the game and get them enjoying it, I'm fine with it, because I have really grown to love this genre of games. Mm-hmm. And it's realistically, it's kind of small. It's kind of niche, Yeah. So I would love for that to grow. And I think Street Fighter 6 is kept that in their minds during the development. And I think it's great.
Yeah. And I think that it's good because fighting games can be kind of alienating, I think, for new players.
Super bad.
Yeah. They get into it and you can't hold a candle to anybody. So it's like, why even play?
Yeah.
It's like only the veterans are going to be able to play it. And that's not good for a game's longevity.
Right. And if you want to get in on this game, before that is as big of an issue, now's the time to do it, because
get in early.
I was talking to Randy. I watched a video from Justin Wong, and if you're into fighting games, he's amazing. He's won multiple Evos. He's kind of ridiculous. And he made the point that Capcom is really good at kind of resetting legacy skill from game to game. Obviously, if you play a lot of fighting games, you have some skill that's going to carry over. Right. But he said to a certain extent, when his new Street Fighter game comes out, it's a new Street Fighter game. And just because you were good at 5 doesn't mean you're a god at 6. Mm-hmm. So, and I kind of feel that on the internet right now. Mm-hmm. So, if you want in, now's the time. And it's really fun. There's 1 million people playing it. It's great.
Yeah. I noticed that it was the #1 game being played on YouTube right now. In terms of live streams on YouTube, it was the #1 game. Mm-hmm. So, it makes sense that it's the newest big game to come out, but, normally it's some game that everybody's been playing.
Right.
Your Fortnites and whatnot.
And if you get into this game and you like it, you're going to be eating good for the next year, because we're going to get Mortal Kombat 1 in September, and then probably sometime early next year, you're going to get Tekken 8.
Yeah, a lot of good fighting games coming up. Yeah. A lot. Well, the three big main,
the big three, yeah.
The big 3 fighting franchises are all getting a new release, all within 12 months of each other, probably.
The big 3 for Dale.
Yeah. Speaking of 3 for Dale, let's talk about our 3 for Dale club.
Okay.
So, as long as you're cool moving on.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're at the end of the podcast, but what we like to do at the end of the podcast is shout out people who make it to the end. Mm-hmm. We do that through our 3 for Dale club.
We know it's not easy.
No, just leave a comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, and in the comment put 3 for Dale. That lets us know that you made it all the way to the end, and we'll shout you out next time.
All right. Well, first up, we've got Caleb himself, a.k.a. Punchy Punch.
Punchy Punch. That's how you know he loves fighting games.
Oh, yeah. Well, Caleb is the guy who got me into him.
Yeah, and he's the one we read the comments from.
Yeah.
He's our resident fighting game expert.
Yes.
Next, we have Adam. Now, how do you pronounce his last name? How would you do it? Verily? Adam, let me know how to pronounce your last name. That way, if you're on the 3 for Dale Club again, we won't butcher it.
It could be as simple as Verly.
Verly? Mm-hmm. I like Verly.
Yeah. And then rounding out the 3 for Dale Club, we have Raichi.
Raichi. So, we want you to be a part of the 3 for Dale Club next week. So, leave us a comment. Just put 3 for Dale. Mm-hmm. And we'll shout you out then.
All right.
All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Randy.
Which makes me Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.